Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today we are just going to talk about how we can configure the DHCP server on the router, right? So after configuring this DHCP server on the router, all our devices which are connected to the switch will automatically get an IP address, right? So in those cases you need not to define the IP address manually in the devices. So we are just going to see this concept in detail, and after watching this video you will be able to configure it yourself, right? So let's get started. So guys, let me just open my packet tracer so that we can start our lab for today. So we are just going to see it practically so that you guys can understand the concept well. So my packet tracer is about to open, and now let me just take one router here. So I'm just going to take this 2811 series router. I'm just going to create a simple network here, right? And let me take one switch also, right? And let me add few end devices also. Let me just add 2 PCs here, or 3 PCs, or 4 PC. So the agenda for today is, like, all my PCs which are connected to this switch should get an IP address automatically from the DHCP server, right? This is the agenda for today, so that we are just going to see it in detail, right? So let me just connect this automatic cable to make the connection. So this is the basic thing which you have already seen in the past. How do we connect the cable and how do we make the communication between the switch and the router, right? And let me just fast forward this so that all my ports should be in the up and running state. So all my ports are in the running state for the switches, right? And as far as the port for this routers is concerned, so I just need to configure the router, then only we will then only this port would be in the up and running state, right? So let me just keep it here. One second guys, let me just put it here so that you can see it well, right? Let me just go to the CLI, and I'm just going to configure the router now. Enable configure terminal, right? Here what we need to do, we have to make use of this IP DHCP. So guys, as you can see this, if you type this IP DHCP and the question mark, so you will get all these 3 options. So first option is, we are just going to talk about first 2 options. So first option is excluded addresses. So basically the purpose of using this excluded addresses is, like, if we want to exclude certain IPs from this DHCP pool, so that we can assign those IPs to my routers or some other devices. That can be a printer also, because we don't want our like printers to get the IP address every time they are just booting it up. So instead of that, like, we will be fixing the IP address for such devices. We will be configuring it statically instead of dynamically. So that is what we exclude certain IPs from the DHCP pool. So I'll just say excluded addresses, and let's say I just want to exclude from 192.168.1.1 till 192.168.1.5. So guys, you can understand this concept, like, whenever we are trying to exclude these addresses from the DHCP pool, so DHCP server is not going to assign the IP between 192.168.1.1 till 192.168.1.5. so these IPs will be reserved, right? So whenever we will configure this DHCP server, so DHCP server will release the IP addresses from 6 onwards, right? So we have excluded these IP addresses, and we are also going to create a DHCP pool, right, IP DHCP pool, and we have to give it a name, let's say class C pool. So that can be anything, right? So you can give it any name to this DHCP pool, right? And here we are just going to give the network command, network 192.168.1.0, right, and the subnet mask also. Right, this is done. Let me just go to this, and we also need to set the gateway, default gateway, IP default gateway. Let me just go one step back, IP default, one second guys, IP default gateway, and the default gateway for my router would be this IP address. So default gateway is also set. Let me just assign the IP address, or let me just write the configuration, and let me just make this port up, and then we will see what error we are getting, or are we able to connect to our network, or our devices are able to get the IP address from the DHCP servers or not, right. So let me just make this port up, interface FA0/0 no shut, right. And now let me just go to my PC, and we will see, we will try to make it from DHCP, whether we are able to get this address or not. So guys, as you can see, this DHCP failed, APIPA is being used. So let me just give you a brief about this APIPA. So whenever any machine tries to get an IP address from the DHCP server, and if machine is not able to find the DHCP server in the network, so the system is going to get the IP address from APIPA. So what APIPA is? APIPA is basically automatic private IP addressing, right. So with the help of this APIPA also, like if any of your system is not getting the IP address, let's say, let me just give you an example. You are running a network, and or you have 4 devices in the network, and all the devices are expecting the IP address from the DHCP server, and if there is no DHCP server in the network, so all the machines will automatically get an IP address from APIPA. And let me just tell you one more thing, let's say all the machines are having the IP address from the APIPA, so still they can communicate between each other, right. They will not be getting the internet access, but because every machine will be having this address from the APIPA, because of that these machines are able to communicate to each other, right. So up till now we are not able to like get the IP address from the DHCP server, as you can see this. So I will tell you the reason why it is not able to get the IP address, because we have not set the default gateway for this interface, right. Interface FA0/0 IP address 192.168.1.1 and the subnet mask, right. Now we will try to do it again, and if we will see if we are able to get the IP address from the DHCP server or not. So I will click it here, and I will click it here. So guys, as you can see this, my machine has started taking the IP address from the DHCP server. As you can see this 192.168.1.6. Let me just go to the other machine. So this is my other machine. Let me just click on DHCP. See this machine is also getting the IP address 7. Let me just go to the other machine. 8. So all my machines are getting the IP address from the DHCP server. So we need not to configure it manually, right. 9. So guys, what we have done up till now is, like, at the router level, we have excluded certain IPs from the DHCP pool, because we don't want those IP to be assigned to any device automatically, because we will be assigning it manually. Second thing is, we have to create a DHCP pool. We will have to give one name to the DHCP pool, and we have to give the network command, and in the network command we have to give the network address, whatever address we want to whatever address we want to use for the DHCP server. That can be a class A address, class B address, class C address. That is totally your wish, right? And we also need to set the default gateway, right? With the help of IP default gateway, we will be setting the default gateway, and on the router interface we have to specify the IP address which will act as a gateway for my device. So this is the process which we have to follow to configure router as a DHCP server. I hope you guys have understood the concept, and if you still have any kind of issues related to this video, or if you have any other or if you need any other clarification related to the other videos which have already been uploaded onto my channel, then please feel free to ping me. I would be more than happy to answer your queries. So bye for now. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching my videos, and have a nice day. Thank you.